Before anything else, leave a like right now and subscribe to the channel, because that helps a lot to keep this kind of content live. Turn on the bell so you don't miss any updates, and stay with me until the end, because what you're about to hear here isn't surface-level analysis, it's backstage, context, and a heavy franchise decision. All right, Dub Nation, pay attention, because what I'm about to tell you isn't a normal Warriors story. This hits the foundation of the franchise, challenges everything that's been built over the last few years, and puts Golden State in front of a choice that can define the present and the future. And I'm starting with a straight question. No fluff. One that's already splitting the fan base right down the middle. Today, who gives you more on the court? Jonathan Kuminga or Gui Santos? Answer in the comments, because it matters more than it seems. While part of the fan base gets lost in this debate about young talent, something much bigger is happening away from the cameras, inside closed rooms in San Francisco. League sources confirmed that the Golden State Warriors made an extremely aggressive offer to the Milwaukee Bucks for Giannis Antetokounmpo. And when I say aggressive, I'm not exaggerating. It involves every future draft pick the franchise is allowed to trade. All of them. No exceptions. It's the kind of move that doesn't have a rewind button. This didn't come from social media, it's not a made-up story from a Twitter insider, and it's not empty deadline speculation. It's real. And with the NBA trade deadline set for February 5th, the clock is running. Every day that passes increases the pressure, increases the risk, and shrinks the room for hesitation. And what I'm about to tell you now comes from people who are following this situation very closely. The Warriors are acting like a franchise that understands time is no longer on its side. Stephen Curry is 37. He's still an elite player, still warping defenses just by being on the floor, still efficient at absurd levels, but the reality around him is unstable. The help varies night to night. The original plan was clear. Jimmy Butler, a player with immediate impact, competitive, physical, with playoff history. That plan has completely collapsed. Jimmy Butler's ACL tear didn't just end his season, it ripped away exactly what the Warriors were missing. Someone who could share offensive responsibility, attack the rim with force, absorb contact from defenses, and bring that intimidating presence in the paint. When that happened, something changed inside the front office. It wasn't a small adjustment, it was a mindset shift. Earlier this month, the public message was caution. Steve Kerr was direct when warning about the danger of trading away all future draft picks. He referenced very clear examples of franchises that went all in and then got stuck with bad contracts, no flexibility, and no assets. Milwaukee, Phoenix, and the Clippers were on that list. His line was harsh. You can put yourself in a very difficult situation if you act recklessly and irresponsibly, but the tone started to change. Recently, in an interview on the Willard and Dibbs show, Kerr was even more transparent, maybe without meaning to be. He basically made it clear that, as a coach, he's not the one who has to worry about those long-term decisions. His job is to coach whoever is available. For people who understand the league's inner workings, that sounds like an obvious message. The door was opened, the green light was given. People inside believe Butler's injury was the definitive trigger. Not because he was the perfect solution, but because it forced the Warriors to face an uncomfortable truth. There's no more room to bet on gradual tweaks. There's no more room to wait for linear development from young players while Curry is still playing at this level. Either you accelerate everything right now, or you accept that the window can close without one last real attempt. And that's where the name that completely changes the equation comes in. Giannis Antetokounmpo. He's not just a great player. He's a player who instantly solves structural problems for Golden State. Averages of 28 points, 10 rebounds, and over 5 assists per game. Constant rim pressure, defensive force, lethal transition. He gives exactly what the Warriors miss most when the outside shots don't fall. Imagine for 1 second the offensive gravity of Stephen Curry pulling 2, sometimes 3 defenders, while Giannis attacks the rim with space. It's the kind of combination that dismantles any defensive game plan before the game even starts. It's not an exaggeration to say even rival fans recognize the nightmare that would be in a playoff series. But then comes the point that divides opinions and creates discomfort. The fit isn't automatic, And the person who poured gasoline on this debate was DeMarcus Cousins. He raised a question that a lot of people avoid saying out loud. Does Giannis actually fit Steve Kerr's system? A system built on constant off-ball movement, cuts, handoffs, collective reads, and less dependence on isolation or traditional pick and roll. Cousins went further. He questioned how that fit would work next to Draymond Green, and even heavier, whether Steve Kerr would be the ideal person to maximize a talent with Giannis's profile. That's not a light critique. That's a bomb. Because when that kind of doubt shows up, it doesn't stay confined to tactical analysis. It touches hierarchy, philosophy, and even the future of people who've been in the franchise for years. If you've made it this far, hit like right now. This kind of information doesn't show up every day, and it helps the content reach more fans who actually want to understand what's happening. Stay with me, because the next part goes straight into the point nobody wants to face head-on. The reality is, for this trade to happen, someone big has to go. And the most sensitive name in this conversation is Draymond Green. Not just because of performance, but because of contract. Nearly $26 million helps make the math work. Jimmy Butler can't be included. Stephen Curry is untouchable. That drastically reduces the options. Publicly, Draymond says he knows nothing, that he's on the same information level as any fan. But in another comment, he let something slip that stands out. In his view, Giannis leaving Milwaukee isn't a matter of if, but when. And when a veteran says that, it's usually not by accident. Behind the scenes, the relationship between Kerr and Draymond isn't in its best moment. There have been past statements about wanting to see him retire as a Warrior, but when titles enter the equation, feelings and promises lose power. The whole league works that way. Other teams are in the mix, that's true. Knicks, Timberwolves, Heat. Everyone is monitoring the situation. But analysts agree on one point. Very few can compete with the package Golden State can build. Up to 4 first-round picks, young players with real upside like Jonathan Kuminga and Brandon Podziemski, plus contracts that help the financial fit. The sentence that sums it up came from inside. Curry is the only untouchable. Only him. Absolutely everything else can be negotiated if it means one last serious run at the title. Giannis is out right now with a calf injury, expected to miss 4 to 6 weeks, but internally, there's already a sense that a cycle is ending in Milwaukee. And the Warriors feel it. They feel the opportunity. They feel the urgency. They feel the weight of time. This isn't just ambition. It's controlled desperation. It's a franchise looking in the mirror and deciding whether it would rather protect an uncertain future or bet everything now while it still has Stephen Curry playing at a historic level. When you look calmly at this scenario, everything starts to fit together in an almost uncomfortable way. The debate between Kuminga and Gui Santos, which looks like just a fan argument, actually reflects something much bigger: the conflict between patience and urgency. Kuminga represents raw potential, the athlete who can still make a leap and become a star. Gui Santos represents efficiency, feel for the game, collective fit, and quiet development. Neither is wrong. The problem is that Golden State's clock doesn't move at their pace. It moves at Stephen Curry's pace. That's where the weight of this possible trade becomes even clearer. It's not just about individual talent. It's about timeline. Kuminga might be better in 3 or 4 years. Guy might be more useful right now in certain contexts, but the Warriors' right now isn't just any right now. It's possibly the last real title cycle with the greatest player in franchise history still at his technical peak. That's why the idea of Giannis isn't just tempting, it's logical within that lens. The Warriors know they won't find another player available on the market with this immediate impact. It's not only scoring. It's physical dominance, rebounding, transition, fear in the opponent. It changes how a playoff series is prepared. And that weighs more than any argument about long-term development. But this move comes with a high price. And not only in draft picks, it costs identity. As paradoxical as it sounds, Golden State has always been a franchise that won by being different. It won without relying on a traditional dominant center. It won with spacing, reads, collective intelligence. Bringing in Giannis requires adaptation. It requires humility from the system. It requires Steve Kerr to change principles that produced championships. And that's exactly why DeMarcus Cousins' doubt echoed so loudly. Not because he's right or wrong, but because he hit the sensitive spot. It's not about whether Giannis is good enough. That's not even debatable. It's about whether everyone around him is willing to adjust their roles. Draymond would have to accept less offensive protagonism. Kerr would have to loosen concepts. Young players would have to get out of the way. That's the part the fan base often ignores. Big trades aren't just salary math and picks. They're internal power shifts. They're egos, locker room voices, leadership reordering. And when you mess with that, nothing guarantees immediate harmony. On the other hand, there's an argument that's impossible to refute. Golden State, as it is right now, doesn't scare anyone in the playoffs. It's competitive, it's dangerous on hot nights, but it doesn't impose constant fear. Opponents enter a series against the Warriors believing they can win. With Giannis and Curry together, that changes instantly. The other side's mental preparation already starts at a disadvantage. That's why this conversation is happening now and not in the offseason. That's why all future picks are on the table. That's why historic franchise names are showing up in rumors. It's not blind panic. It's a cold decision, even if it's painful. And when you watch the front office's recent behavior, it's clear the idea of protecting the future has lost strength. The message changed. The subtext got more aggressive. The message is simple. If they're going to go down trying something huge, not staying in the middle, never fully committing, competing just to be competitive. The most interesting part is that, whether the trade happens or not, this moment has already left marks. It revealed how far Golden State is willing to go. It revealed that nobody besides Curry is truly untouchable. It revealed that patience with medium-term projects is over. That changes how players view the franchise, how agents negotiate, and how the locker room sees itself. At the core, the question isn't whether Giannis is worth the price. The question is whether the Warriors can live with the consequences if it goes wrong. Years without high picks, less flexibility, less margin for error. But there's also the other side that nobody can guarantee. What if it works? What if that combination delivers another title? Who's going to care about draft picks 6 or 7 years from now? That's why this debate isn't simple. It's not a video game. It's not an automatic trade. It's a decision that defines legacy. It defines how this era will be remembered, how the end of Stephen Curry's career will be told. So when you think about Kuminga, Santos, Draymond, future picks, everything has to be placed on the same scale. On one side, continuity and hope. On the other, immediate impact and maximum risk. There's no perfect answer. There's a choice. Now I want to hear from you. If it were your decision, would you press the all-in button? Would you give up young talent, picks, and even idols to chase one more title with Curry and Giannis together? Drop your opinion in the comments, because this debate doesn't end here. If this content helped you understand what's really happening behind the scenes in Golden State, hit like right now and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next updates. Turn on the bell, because this story can still change at any moment.